welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. Today I am celebrating 3,000 subscribers by answering your guys' questions. Thank you so much for 3,000 subscribers. I am so excited. I know it might seem like a small amount of subscribers to many channels, but for me it's a big deal. I never planned to have 3,000 subscribers. I also didn't plan on being YouTube for as long as I have been, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the community we have here. So just a huge thank you to you guys. And for questions, first going to talk about YouTube questions, then personal, spooky related, fashion, inspo, and then sewing. The difference is fashion inspo is kind of more about inspiring projects. Sewing is kind of more of like a technical question, if that makes sense. So that's the flow of this video. I'm going to be completing some sewing chores while we're doing this. In this case, to start, I'm going to be sorting out some brand new buttons I've gotten and tying thread around them, because that's how I organize my buttons. I lost one. Oh, it went so far. That one went so far away. I'm not great at talking to you guys unless I'm doing something, I guess. So I decided sewing chores would be a good one to start with. So to start, YouTube, best and worst part about growing a channel. The best part is you guys. I really appreciate the love I've been given. I am so excited anytime anyone says I inspire them. I think that's so cool, and that's why I have a channel. That's why I continue to do YouTube, is it inspires me that I inspire you, and so I get inspired further, I guess. But I absolutely love interacting with you all, and yeah, I feel very grateful for like the corner of the internet I have where people are like nice and like, I don't know, I just appreciate the community. The worst part is, I think, anytime you get exposure from people not in your community. So I went viral on TikTok this year over my Baja Blast video, and I did not like it because I just had a lot of people coming in who don't understand me or what I'm about and just kind of being rude. And for some people and creators, virality is like a huge target for them. I'm more about slowly growing my audience because I want you guys, I guess like this sounds weird, but I want my audience to be quality. I don't want it to be people who go on the internet to troll and be rude and hate watch people. I want it to be people who genuinely have a similar love and passion for things as I do. So going viral doesn't actually really help achieve that for me. And it just gives me major anxiety and ruins my life, in my opinion. I went viral once and I hope to never do it again. We're gonna go into personal. What do you read in your spare time? I've not been reading a ton lately, but when I do read, if I'm reading a book, I read a lot of historical fiction, historical mystery fiction, I would say my favorite category sometimes is historical mystery romance novels, which is a bit ridiculous. I don't remember the series. I'll put it here, I guess. But it's about a Victorian lady detective and her husband. I don't know. It really does it for me. That's like what I read. What I audiobook read is a lot of nonfiction. I recently audiobook read But I'm Glad My Mom Died, or I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead, by that iCarly actress. Her name escapes me. It was a really good listen, very triggering for eating disorders and abuse, so if those are triggering topics, don't listen to it, but very good. It was well written. She read it really well. Really enjoyed it. And then right now I'm listening to The Chiffon Trenches by Andre Leon Talley. I think he's a really amazing human, and I'm really enjoying that one. But typically I listen to nonfiction memoirs types, and I read kind of more like my fiction drama escapism. So I like to learn while I listen and escape when I read. Where do you want to travel next? I'm actually really excited. Next year, I have my sabbatical for my work, which is where I get 6 weeks of PTO. And so I am going to go to Thailand and Seoul, and I'm really excited about both of them. I haven't decided what I'm doing for the second portion of my sabbatical. I would really like to go to a continent I haven't been to before, so either Africa, South America, or Australia are in the running. I'm just kind of trying to figure out if I'm solo traveling where I want to go, or if I want to do Eastern Europe. I have some friends in Poland. Yeah, I don't know. I also have some friends in Britain. That would be fun to see. So I haven't quite decided what I'm doing with that second half, but I will be traveling. And then as always, I'm sure there'll be plenty of trips to Denver in there. But yeah, I'm really excited about my travels. Do you have a favorite artist? Can be any medium. So a lot of my favorite artists are actually potters. I think a few of you know I do pottery on the side as well. Her name is Maria, and her Instagram handle is One Loma. I always read it as Loma. She does really, really beautiful dyed porcelain pottery, which is a really, really hard technical skill to pull off and is also really labor intensive. Purchase from her all the time. If you've ever seen any of like my cake mugs. Those are from her, and I'm really excited. She's trying some new things this year. She's queer, and I just feel like you can really feel it in her pieces. Like I connect deeply with her pieces. So she's my favorite artist. Somebody else asked, do you want kids someday? So I do want to note, always walk carefully when you ask this question. You don't know what's going on with someone around infertility, parenting, things like that. However, I am happy to answer this question. I just do want to note to just be cautious who you're asking. I'm not gonna have kids. I don't like kids. I have had no desire to have kids. Everyone says you're gonna change when you get older. The older I get, the more sure I am that I wanted kids. I didn't even think I wanted kids when I was a kid. Like I've never thought about having kids or planned on having kids, and I don't see that changing. And I think you should really want to be a parent if you're going to be a parent. I think it's a decision that should be thought about very intensely. Just, I don't know. It's not for me. And it's not to say that I don't think anyone should be a parent. I just don't think I should be a parent. I have many friends who are parents who I think are wonderful and I adore them. Parenthood is just not for me. Can you talk some about your personal beliefs on sustainability more? So sustainability is really, really complex. My friend Christina actually did a pretty good video that aligns pretty closely with my views on sustainability, which basically, if I was to sum it up quick, this would kind of have to be a whole big video, which I am interested in maybe at some point talking about my views on sustainability. Basically, I do think individual actions matter. However, they are not the end-all be-all, and we should never be shaming people into those individual actions. We should, however, be shaming the heck out of corporations. I do the best I can as an individual to be sustainable. However, because of where we live, it's not always possible. Income, things like that. And also, like, I struggle because I'm a hoarder and I love things. I do try to buy basically everything secondhand first. So, like, a good example, you'll see this video coming up. I wanted some new vases instead of like going to, I guess what, my local Home Goods. I don't even know where you buy new things anymore. Instead of going there, I went to my local thrift and antique shops to pick up vases there. So secondhand first mentality. And then like my cleaning products, I completely use just Blue Land products, which are like little pellets you add to water and they become a cleaning package. And the reason I do think individual matters is what you do as an individual can pressure corporations to make changes. A good example, so I buy Blue Land's soap, hand soap, which are just little pellets that come in a paper bag. And I think like a interesting result of this is if you go into the grocery store now, I believe it's Dial, actually has soap refills that you fill similar to like how Blue Land does their fills, where it's super concentrated and you just dilute it with water. Theirs are in plastic packages, however, so they are still a little bit different. But like that's to me an example of, because of consumer behavior shifts, companies that don't care about us or the planet shifting. So yeah, I kind of think everybody should do their best. I think this is a good time to address, I am an Amazon affiliate, which means if you purchase off Amazon using one of my links, I get a little kickback. I went back and forth about doing this for a really long time, but sewing supplies are relatively niche. Joann's is not a good company either, neither is Michael's, or Hobby Lobby is an especially bad company. And Amazon's really widely accessible in America, so I decided to go ahead and become an affiliate to direct you guys to the sewing tools I use, because it is the most accessible. If you have local craft shops that you want to support, I would love if you would take those lists that I make to them and buy through them. That would be my preferred. If Amazon's the most accessible, I may as well earn a kickback is kind of how I ended up feeling. But I have a lot of feels about sustainability. If you would be interested in me talking about sustainability, definitely let me know. I would love to do a whole video on it. I think about sustainability a lot. But I don't want this to become like a 30-minute rant about sustainability, because it very quickly will. Because like I said, I'm really passionate about it. I run a sustainable fashion blog on the side. So yeah, it's a topic I care about. Definitely think at some point I will do a sustainability in my sewing practice video at some point. But again, check out that video by Christina. A lot of her views and my views are really closely aligned. I will link that down below if you want to check it out. I think it's a very nuanced and complicated question I cannot answer in a concise amount of time. Next, we're moving on to spooky questions. Do you ever think about getting another cat or pet? I would love to get 2 more cats. I think I would like to be a household of 3 cats to 1 person. I would like to get like 2 black kittens at some point. However, I need to own the place I live before I'm willing to I would get them from a shelter, but get more cats, because when you're a renter, the more animals you have, the harder it is to find a place that will take you. And whatever, I want to get a bonded pair next time. I can't probably do that in rent. And then, do you think Spooky will ever get an outfit made by me? I actually have a pattern for making clothes for Spooky. I've been procrastinating on using it because I'm pretty sure Spooky doesn't really care about being clothed. I haven't done it, but definitely next year prepare for a me making outfits for Spooky video. Fashion inspo. So this is kind of all stuff that are questions about my style. What is your favorite hair color you've ever had? This is a really hard question that I'm gonna say sorry, I don't have an answer. My favorite hair color is most of the time the one currently on my head. My stylist here in Seattle does a fabulous job and everything she does I absolutely adore. So I have no good answer. It's definitely nothing in the pink or orange region. It's definitely somewhere in the blues and purples is my favorite color. Do you have an outfit on your bucket list that's a dream outfit to make, but you haven't had the time? Not really. Honestly, right now, if I have an idea, I do it, which is kind of a boring answer. Right now, I'm kind of in a mode where if the idea pops into my head, I obsess over it until I finish it. Would you ever consider selling your dresses? This one's an easy one. No, I do occasionally sell a dress if I'm decluttering it from my closet that I've made, but I would not make dresses to sell. As you guys know by my cost breakdowns, if I was going to pay myself fairly for my labor, the dresses would be so expensive no one would buy them. Also, for me, sewing is one of the spaces I don't let capitalism into, which means I don't sew for money, essentially. The fact that I make money, which by the way, not much money, on YouTube doesn't really correlate. For transparency, I make about $25 a video, so the cost of a video way outweighs what I'm bringing in, as you know by my cost breakdowns. I'm just not interested in capitalizing off this hobby. I've done it with quite a few of my other hobbies and I end up not liking the hobby in the end. Are there any patterns that you would like to work with? Maybe one that you can't find? So I would love to have the complete Gunny Sacks pattern collection, every Gunny Sacks pattern ever released. That's a very expensive dream, so it probably won't happen. And then the other patterns that I would really like. So I have a bunch of these really beautiful fashion magazines by Modes Royal. If I could find any of the patterns in this one, I would die. So I do look these up fairly frequently and they never have full skirts available. There only ever seem to be straight or pencil skirts, which aren't my style, and I'm not willing to spend the money I would need to spend on a pattern to be able to have one of these. But I just think these are stunning. I would love to make one of these, and they were patterns. This is a pattern book. Any pattern basically in this book would be a dream pattern. I have actually, I think 6 of their magazines from the 40s through the 50s, and I do continue to collect them. I find them really inspiring. What's your favorite make so far? This is a really hard question. It's like choosing a favorite child. I actually don't know what that's like because, as previously stated, I'll never have children. I think it comes down between the unicorn Gunny Sacks and the Tuda Matoshi knockoff dress that I made. The unicorn dress is honestly really practical and I wear it a bunch, and it's kind of fun to wear a pattern that I made. And then the Tuda Matoshi was just such a display of all the skills I've grown in the past few years, and I also adore it. But like, I feel like that's why that one holds a special place in my heart, is I feel like only recently I've had the skill to do a dress like that. So yeah, it's kind of a tie between those two. Is historical sewing in your future? If so, what era? I go back and forth on this all the time. So I really strive to make practical clothing. So like, I wear my makes to work, except for the Tuda Matoshi. That is the only one I have not worn to work yet, but I wear everything else to work. And historic sewing, I guess I have worn something from the 1910s to work. I don't know, we'll see. I will say if I start with historic sewing, I'm gonna start probably with a Victorian or Edwardian lawn dress, which are those white dresses with lots of lace details, just because I feel like you can make more errors because they're all white. But it would definitely be in the Victorian or Edwardian era to start because you don't need quite as much layering as some of the other eras. All right, bear with me. I promise I'm not hiding behind my sewing machine. I just need to give it a good deep clean and I haven't done it in a while. And I felt like it was appropriate to all answer kind of more sewing machine technical questions at my sewing machine. So I'm gonna start with, somebody asked me something about presser foot placement. I am not a very technical sewer, so I'm not quite sure what she was asking. I basically use my basic presser foot and I leave the needle in the middle and I use my guides here. So that's all the advice I have on presser foot things. I'm sorry I don't have a good answer. Do you have more than one sewing machine? So I do have 4 sewing machines. 4. There's stories though. 2 I got for free. So one is a 1970s singer that I brought it into a repair place to repair. They said they couldn't do it. They tried it anyway. It now functions, but I don't really use it because I think it can break really easy and I have to oil it. which we'll get into this. I just don't necessarily find vintage machines worth the hassle. And then I have Heavy Duty Singer, which is like, I think it's like a $160 model that is not computerized. I wanted one sewing machine that wasn't computerized for my backup machine, because since I sew so much, being without my machine, which I need to for cleaning and repairs and stuff, doesn't really work for me. So I do need to have a backup machine. I haven't had the sewing machine break yet, so it's only been for like its yearly maintenance that I've brought it in for stuff. And then I have one last one, which is a baby lock that I won for free. I walked in to get this machine just tuned up. I take it in yearly, and they were having their birthday sale or whatever, and they gave everyone a scratch ticket, and I scratched it and it said, you won a free sewing machine. So that's the last one I own. I'm not gonna lie, that one's still in the box in the car. I've promised it to a friend and we somehow haven't gone through on that promise. So I guess I will be down that one eventually. And then I used to have a fifth machine I started on, but it was a piece of crap. So I went and I got it repaired after I broke it, and then I donated it to my local creative reuse center because it would then be a really cheap way for somebody to get the opportunity to try sewing. So as far as what sewing machine I use, I have the Singer Quantum Stylus Touch. Where's the model number? Ooh, that's dusty under there. I don't know what the model number is, so I will put that. I'm a bad sewing machine owner. I have no idea. I will, I guess, link it down below if they still sell it. I got this machine 3 years ago. I've used it every weekend. It's never broken. I don't get skipped stitches. I don't have tension issues. Like, this machine has been amazing for me. Pretty much the only time I've ever had issues with like skipping is when I have the improper needle in. So that's why I got it. I also got it because from everything I read or could tell, it seemed like it had more metal parts than other modern machines. And it was, I think, on sale for half off. And my parents got it for, which birthday was that? Was my 24th? Yes, and my parents got it for me for my 24th birthday, and I haven't looked back since. And I've looked at like fancier sewing machines, but honestly, I just need a machine with a good straight stitch that's reliable, and that's this machine. Do you ever want to try to sew on a vintage machine like a treadle machine or a 1950s? So I guess I own another sewing machine. So I inherited my grandma's Singer from the 1910s, I believe. I don't currently have it where I live because I don't have space for it, so my parents are keeping it for me until I own where I live. So many things depend on when I own where I live. But honestly, I don't really have a huge desire to sew with regularly a vintage machine. There's just so many things that modern machines do. If I didn't have one that like this guy that is so steady and good, I might consider it, but honestly, this machine's great, so no, I don't see myself really sewing with vintage machines. How did you learn how to sew? I will link her down below. Her name's Evelyn Wood. I signed up for her sewing school channel. It was an $18 subscription back when I signed up for it. I have no idea what it is now. Sorry, I just got fluff all over myself. Genius idea, cleaning a bunch of black fuzz in a light mint dress. And this is really gummed up from, I just sewed with some velvet. Back on the topic. So I actually just started with vintage patterns and read the instructions and followed them. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I am autistic, and my special interest / brain just in general is really, really good at shapes and understanding how they go together. Sewing came really naturally to me. Like, sewing came more naturally to me than most people I know who sew. So yeah, I don't know. For my the job that I work for a living, I'm working with spatial stuff all the time. That's kind of how I learned, is I just learned from vintage patterns, and it skip a lot of instructions, but they also instruct you to do a lot of things that what I've learned modern sewing patterns don't tell you to do. But I could probably do a whole video on how I learned to sew and how I got started. Also, if you want to see, I have the first dress I ever made. I recorded it for a video. It's probably complete garbage. I have not watched it. I am going to disclaimer that it might be terrible, but I will link that in the eye right here if you want to watch my first ever dress I sewed. I chose a terrible pattern to start with because it had a collar. I don't know what I was thinking. And yeah, I've pretty much just learned online from there. So mostly self-taught. Evelyn Wood Sewing School worked really well for me. I basically just learned how to do, it was not as well populated as it is now, I think, but I basically just learned how to convert thrifted clothes and just do little adjustments, and then I started sewing patterns. And then biggest wish list for your sewing area, a room. I currently sew in a corner in my 1-bedroom apartment. I would really love to one day have a 2-bedroom apartment where I could have a sewing room and close the door. Right now, when I work on projects, my whole living space is a big whirlwind. So yeah, I would really like to have a sewing room. Biggest wish list for my sewing area is to have one. That's separate from everything else. That wraps up all the questions you guys asked. You asked some good ones this round. I guess basically I want to quickly wrap up with some miscellaneous channel thoughts. So During this, I will be in the middle of them coming out, but I did 6 weeks of spooky sewing where I did 6 weeks of vintage sewing in a row. It was honestly, like, I love the pieces I got out of it, but it was really exhausting. And I don't think I'm going to do that again. I think I'm going to continue on the every other week sewing project schedule with something else in the middle. If you have any suggestions for non-sewing videos or videos where I can just talk about things and not make a project, put them down below. I am super happy to try them. I think just this list, I'm probably gonna do a video on how I learned to sew and my style journey. Somebody asked what my style journey was. I realized I didn't answer it. My style journey basically was I grew up in school uniforms, became an emo kid, did the emo thing, and then ended up wearing vintage somehow, some way. But I could do a more extended version of how I started dressing vintage, and I could probably do an extended one about my sustainability sewing practices, and also I think I could do a video on like how I organize my patterns and buttons and vintage notions in a way that I can easily find them for projects. So those are kind of 3 ideas of in-between weeks off the top of my head. I have been kind of speaking about sustainability. I've been trying to reduce my haul content in this channel. I used to basically be, I think, like 75% haul content and 25% sewing content. Now I'm probably 50-50, and I would like to get down to being like 15% haul content and the rest being everything else. So I'm going to continue to kind of think of other ways I can do videos. You're still going to see a video from me once a week this year. I don't really ever plan on increasing the frequency of it's too much work. I work a full-time job. This is not my source of income. Again, like I said, I make $25 maybe per video right now. And as you guys know by my cost breakdowns, I am spending much more than that on supplies. So my real life job that takes up 40 hours a week is how I pay the bills to be able to do this. I don't see that changing. And I don't see YouTube ever being my full-time job. I just think I'm too niche of a channel, and I'm not really willing to like broaden my scope of my channel, because my channel right now is about me and what I want to be doing. Also next year, some of those, I look forward to more traveling content with my sabbatical. I think that kind of answers everything. I think at some point it would be fun to do a video about my YouTube journey, but I think I'm gonna probably wait. I've been on here 3 years or 2 years starting next year. I think 2? No, 3. I'll have to check. I have no idea how old my channel is. Honestly, if YouTube fulfills me enough that I don't see myself giving it up anytime soon, I make it a priority to do this. Also, like, you guys keep me motivated and inspired to continue to push my sewing capabilities, and I think that's really cool, and I really appreciate that about my channel. And so yeah, I don't see myself not doing YouTube in the future. I think honestly my ideal would be to eventually get to 10,000 subscribers, and then I don't necessarily feel like I want to grow past that. I know if you get to 10,000, you will kind of automatically grow past that. But honestly, I always joke if I like reach like 100,000 subscribers, I'm gonna disappear forever from all parts of the internet. Like I said, fame, virality, that many people watching me is not for me. So I'm just gonna continue to hopefully grow slow and steady. I've enjoyed the ride so far, and I can't believe I'm already at 3,000 subscribers. I think that's 1,000 a year, which I know again is small potatoes compared to other channels, but it's a big deal to me. And so again, a huge thank you all for being here. A huge thank you if you made it to the end of this video. If you made it to the end of this video, drop your favorite cat emoji down below. Other than that, I'm gonna see you on my regular Friday video. I think it's going to be my 5th week of spooky sewing. What is time? I don't know. It could be my 4th. It's definitely not the 6th though. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. And I will see you next time. Bye.